Perfect. All right. So, welcome to Tales from the Trenches Tuesdays. Today, I am absolutely thrilled to have my good friend and colleague, Sam Provenzano, with us. Sam graduated from Indiana University in 2007 with a bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism and sociology. Soon after graduating, Sam was a TV news anchor and reporter in South Central Kentucky before discovering his true love of philanthropy and major gift fundraising in 2010. Sam started his career in development in St. Jude's Research Hospital and since then has worked for various nonprofits and universities such as the Alzheimer's Association, DePaul University, Haymarket Center, and the University of the Incarnate World. Currently, Sam is Director of Major Gifts at the University of Texas, supporting the Moody College of Communication. Sam has raised millions in philanthropic support throughout his career and takes great pride in being a versatile, tenacious, and charismatic development officer. When he's not on the road visiting with donors and prospects, you can find him working out, playing tennis, and just enjoying time with family and friends. So welcome, Sam. Yeah, and for those who don't know, Sam is actually the creator of the Next Gen Fundraising Group that's on LinkedIn, which is, it's funny, it's technically Next Gen, so actually you're about a generation younger than I am, but I think that the majority of folks are all over the gamut. It's certainly not just for Next Gen fundraisers.
Absolutely. I wanted to create like a LinkedIn community. It's Next Gen Fundraisers. It's really not about age. It's really about those folks who want to see philanthropy and the climate that we're in kind of changing. They want to be leaders, not bosses. They want to, it's an opportunity for people to learn from each other, our mistakes, our successes, job opportunities. So it kind of took a place of its own or and whatnot. So a turn of its own. So I'm really happy with it. And I think it's helped a lot of people.
Amazing. So Sam, one of the things that I like to do on Tales for the Trenches is talk about like real life stories, right? So real experiences that we've had. So one of the great ones that I kind of start off with was, tell me about the best canvas you were ever on.
Sure. I mean, every, donor visit, every, they're very special. They're all unique. They're very special. Some end, some of the things end really well, and some of the things don't always go as you plan. But, I was thinking about this question, and there was an individual who was quite wealthy based on paper and research that, our prospect researcher did, and what I did as a journalist. I love digging anyway, so I like doing that prospect research, and it came across an alumni who had, given a little bit of money, maybe, 20 years ago. No one had ever contacted him. I saw a couple folks attempt to contact the person, but no one reached out. He had been just kind of forgotten, it looked like. So I reached out, and of course, I got no response. And I used every tool in my arsenal, including, LinkedIn and
Right.
social media, and who does he know that maybe they can connect me to him. And probably after like 7 or 6 attempts, I did hear back, which was super exciting. Like you're looking at your phone and you're like, oh my gosh, this person finally responded. And it was not a great email. It was scathing. It was, where have you been the last 20 years? Now you're just contacting me because I'm X, Y, and Z. My kids actually went to that school and you still didn't welcome our family into this, into the field, into the circle. So he's very upset. And obviously during those times you really want to listen, but you have to you have to ask them, would you be willing to sit down with me to at
Right.
least talk this out, hash this out, get a better understanding? And to my surprise, when I did kind of reply to his email, and I kind of did it in a way that maybe humanized him and myself. I was just very
Sure.
vulnerable, and like, my apologies for this. I'm not aware of this, but I would love to have a conversation to see how we can possibly mend fences. And, there's new leadership. I think you'll be kind of excited about, what's ahead, et cetera, et cetera. He did take the visit. He did, I think, feel a little more empowered by that initial visit. I didn't ask for money during this initial visit. I really wanted to listen,
Right.
and hear him out. And I really felt like he probably had dominated the conversation 80%, and I'm an Italian guy and I'm a former, news anchor. I'm used to sometimes doing that, but I really listened. The next step, I engaged him back to the university. I was able to connect him with his favorite professor from many years ago who was still living, who was willing to jump on to not a Zoom, but a visit with me.
Right.
Which, led to engaging with students, which led to finally, asking him, hey, this is where we are right now. You've met the leadership, you've met our students. What do you think? Would love to talk about your personal philanthropy and where
Sure.
we fit in those philanthropic priorities. Long story short, he did end up, giving, or putting together a $250,000 endowed scholarship to support first-gen students. He was first-gen. He didn't come from wealth. And I think he has seen so many things in the world today and the importance of an education. That relationship continued even after that initial gift. And I believe it's led to other gifts. I am no longer at that,
Right.
organization, but can't take credit for that. But deep down, I do take credit for listening to that individual. And it was just a really cool, amazing experience.
There's a whole bunch of neat things that we can kind of unpack a little bit with that. The first is that you were tenacious in that you didn't give up reaching out to the guy. So maybe some of your predecessors had given up.
So.
And, it takes numerous attempts at folks to kind of prod them, especially now. It seems like COVID, you have to kind of poke the beast, 10 times as much as you had to before COVID. If people were slow to respond before COVID, they're like at a snail's pace now.
Absolutely, especially if they've had a negative experience at that institution or that nonprofit, they don't really feel a need to respond. And quite frankly, I get it, right? I understand it. And, I think it was just, the grit, the determination. And I've said this many times, and you might have seen it on social media. I do believe at the end of the day, those major donors, those high-level individuals appreciate the grit. They appreciate your tenacity and your ability to kind of show who you really are. And I don't think it's bothering those people. I think they're testing us to see, like, hey, is this guy really for real? Or is he just going to give up after 1 or 2 attempts? And as soon as they see that you're not, they're going to give you a response. It might not be the response that we want, right? But it's a response and we can move forward.
Yeah. And, I've often found that sometimes the folks that are the most critical of our work, once you can kind of convert them to being supporters, tend to be your biggest cheerleaders on the other side, right? So, they always say that if you can take someone who has a problem with your organization or your fundraising or whatever it is and turn them into a supporter, they're actually a stronger supporter than John Q. Average on the street.
I completely agree. And because of that experience they've had with that fundraiser or even with myself, that led to, hey, I trusted you. I trusted Sam. You took me on this journey. And, and so when I asked him, hey, would you be willing to introduce me to a couple of your friends in your social circle? You are who your friends are kind of thing sometimes. And he was, which led to more success, which led to more relationships being built. And I mean, you can't, that's special. That's priceless.
Now that we spoke about kind of the best canvas, there's always that flip side of the coin, which is what is the worst canvas you were on and why?
There's been a lot of visits where I think you have high expectation based just on their capacity, where they work, and, all these things on paper that look like they're going to be, your biggest donor and they're going to give so much money. And, I had sat down to someone at a very high level company, CEO, And the very first thing he said was, I'm not giving you money. I'm not giving to this, to this institution. Do what you want to do. I'm really not going to listen, and I'll enjoy my lunch, the free lunch. And it was so weird. It was so bonkers. And that does happen to some people, but that just kind of it threw me off, and it really just, it really kind of hurts your feelings, I guess, not
Right.
trying to be Mr. Sensitive, but, like those visits that can happen really can be a big bummer.
But what's interesting is that it just shows with the major donors that it's not capacity that drives their philanthropy. It's a commitment to the cause. And if the commitment isn't there, doesn't matter how much money they have, they likely aren't going to be able to part with it or willing to part with it for your organization until you can create some sort of a commitment.
Another thing, that has really always kind of bothered me and irked me is, and this is just the thing, you work so hard to reach out to a donor. You're doing all the work, you're being creative, and you never ever hear from them. And
Right.
that leaves you with just such a pit in your stomach. That's not necessarily a bad visit, I'm not saying, but the work, the hard work that we put in, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't nothing comes to fruition, and you just say, okay, I guess I need to move forward. And it's hard to move forward and disqualify a prospect due to them being unresponsive. So I think that's another thing that makes it very difficult sometimes in our jobs.
Yeah, and that's where I talk about the personal relationships. When you're looking at someone across the table at Starbucks, you're looking into the whites of their eyes, and when they say that I'm not going to support this program, it's a hurtful statement, right? It's something that oh my gosh, I did all this work, and and now the road is ending. Now maybe it's just ending for now. As opposed to some of the direct mail pieces where you throw tens of thousands of pieces in the mail, 97% of folks sit it out, right? So there's no personal connection. You don't even know the majority of folks that are going on that direct mail list. But when you have that relationship, that's one-on-one, that's kind of that human rejection, right? And you have to just always remember that they aren't rejecting you, Sam, as a person. They're either rejecting that specific proposal or something along those lines. Well, Sam, it's been absolutely a pleasure having you on board. It's like, we just stopped chatting a week ago, and I think it's probably been a good 6 months since we last chatted. So it was great to catch up with you. I'm so happy to count you amongst some of my closer colleagues in the fundraising world, and wish you nothing but success at UT.
And thank you so much, and you continue to be a leader in this field. I love your posts on LinkedIn. You bring people together. You make us think. I think this podcast was definitely one of the best ones I've ever been on. So I appreciate you asking the questions, and I hope I was able to give you a little insight.
Yeah. So Sam, if folks wanted to get hold of you, how would they go about doing that?
Oh gosh, please go on LinkedIn. I'm always on LinkedIn. I'm not posting as much content as I used to, but I'm on LinkedIn. I'm always there. I'm on Instagram. I don't mind following or getting followers from Instagram either. And I'm always there to ask questions. I don't know all the answers, but I love, what I do, and I love to help people, whether it's with the job itself as a fundraiser and strategies, or just someone that wants to get into this world of philanthropy. I'm always there. So please do follow me, message me. So.
Super. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Hi, folks. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button right here.